Hello again, everyone. This is Dr. Dan Bockmann. Today we're going to talk about your first big injury you've ever had. So let's say, and why it tends to have a bigger psychological effect and worry us and stress us out more than future injuries we might have. So this is a common thing. If, let's say, and you're usually going to be younger, maybe in your early 20s, let's say, and then all of a sudden, let's say you get back pain out of the blue, and it's debilitating, and you're on the floor, and you can't put on your pants and shoes and socks, and you can't get out of a car, and you feel like an old man or an old woman, and it hits you out of the blue. It's really, you've had a pretty, pain-free existence up to that point. It hits you hard up here. And here's why. It's because up until this point in your life, let's say, you just assume that all your parts always work and never break. And that's a good assumption. It's based on evidence, right? Because every day of your life till now, you've done literally whatever you want, and you've never had a lot of pain, and you've never been disabled. And then all of a sudden, bam, you may not have even done anything dangerous. You may have just been bending down to pick up your keys off the floor, and you get, maybe you hear a pop in your knee and it's super painful, or you wake up one morning and you feel like you've got an ice pick sticking in your shoulder and you can't turn your head to the side. And it's like, where did that happen? I've woken up, gotten out of bed millions of times in my life, and that's never happened. And that's not a dangerous thing. What's happening? Am I falling apart? Am I degenerating? Is my warranty expiring and now suddenly everything is going to fall apart? So that gets in your head because it makes you kind of question everything you've ever thought about your body. Essentially, if we just assume our body's going to work well, and we assume that we're right because it does, and then it stops, it can be depressing, it can be frustrating. It can make you assume the worst. That's our tendency, by the way. Human nature is if something bad happens to us, we go automatically to could this be cancer? Could this be, I'm going to need surgery. I'm going to be in a wheelchair. I'm going to be crippled for the rest of my life. And I'm young. Am I going to end up looking like my grandma or grandpa, or even my mom or dad who's all broken down and can't go on the hiking trip with us? That's the first thing we go to because we have to question everything. However, what I'll tell you is this. A couple things. One, even if you have severe pain somewhere, especially if that severe pain came with no trauma, meaning I didn't fall down the stairs and now I hurt a lot. If it just kind of came out of the blue and you have severe pain, it does not mean that there's severe damage inside you. So if there's no way for a bone to break, bones don't just spontaneously break. So that means whatever's causing your pain, even if it's severe and debilitating, is probably not a big scary thing. Now still go get checked out, because you still want to find the cause for it, but it's usually not a big scary problem, like cancer or a rare disease, something has failed and snapped into or ruptured or herniated discs are one of the first things that people tend to think of if they have a severe problem. So no trauma, lots of pain, still probably not a big problem, and typically pretty straightforward to fix. Now here's the other thing I'll say. Even though your first injury is going to keep you awake at night, if not only from pain, but also from worry about what this means for you going forward, once you get past that injury, and I see this with patients routinely in my office, once you get past that injury and you discover, even though I had severe pain, I had numbness in my foot, and I went and saw Dr. Bockmann, and he saw me 3 times, and now I'm feeling pretty great. Now I'm actually back to running, and I'm shooting basketball again. Now that that's behind you, if you have any future injuries going down the road, you're not going to stress about them as much. You're not going to assume the worst as much because you've already been there and been through it and got better pretty fast. So if you're out there watching right now and you have sudden pain out of nowhere and there's no obvious reason for it, likely it's not a big scary thing. The amount of pain you have does not determine how severe the problem is inside you. So if it's a 9 out of 10 pain, it does not mean that something's 90% broken or ruptured or herniated inside you. In fact, the opposite is almost always the case. That there's severe pain that is kind of an overreaction as far as the amount of pain, not severe injury. So try not to get too worried about it. Still go get it checked out for sure. Don't wait too long, because that just means you're suffering unnecessarily longer than you have to. But then in future injuries, you'll worry less about it. Now also, what I'll say too, if you're active, if you're an athlete, if you're in the process of becoming a runner and maybe you want to become a marathoner and you've never run a marathon before. You're in the process of training and adding mileage, let's say in this example. It's normal to have aches and pains. Stiff, sore, achy, tight, that's all part of it. Because you're adding new work to your body it's relatively unfamiliar with doing it, hasn't done those things in a while or perhaps ever. Your body has to adapt to it by getting stronger and learning new things. And so stiff, sore, achy, tight is all part of that. The main thing in any ramp-up process into a sport or an activity, the main thing that matters is that you're not having big setbacks. A big setback I define as enough extra pain that it forces you to do things differently for an entire day afterwards because it's too painful to do those things normally. Now, if you find yourself a little limpy or gimpy the day after, a run or trail run or something, force yourself to walk normally and see if you can. And I say, are you being forced to change the way you're doing things, or are you just changing them out of caution because you're worried something might be wrong? If there's something you're modifying in the way you get up from a chair, or you walk, or you climb stairs, try slowly doing it just the way you normally would, without limping, or modifying that thing. See if it's actually severe pain or not, because many times our brain tells us, hey, something's wrong, let's kind of baby that side and be gimpy for a while. And that could be a problem for a couple of reasons. One, because gimping along long enough, limping, can cause other problems. And two, I don't want you to be backing off from that activity unnecessarily just because you're afraid something's wrong. So unless you have huge increases in pain after an activity for a day, it's a minor setback. It's all part of adding in new activities. And then in those sessions of that workout or that activity or sport going forward, you may dial the intensity down just a little bit in future episodes just to give your body a chance to catch up and adapt to that level of activity you're doing before you add a new level of intensity. So if you're having pain that first time out of the blue, try not to stress too much, get it checked out, and you'll find that going forward in life, as you ask more of your body, and you may have minor setbacks, mild, brief, and rare setbacks, you won't stress as much about them. So hopefully that's been helpful. If so, definitely subscribe, share it with a friend, and if you have a question of your own, definitely leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to address that in a future video. See you guys next time.